thing. And that's probably fueled me in the whole of my life, to be honest, is that, set the bar high, dream big, and then do all you can to bring it to life.
Hey, Printlife, welcome back. Awesome episode. The CEO of AS Color, Clive Ormerod. He is on the program today with us. We are really excited. We're diving into a bunch of different topics. Number one, AS Color, what's new, what's coming out. Clive shares a couple little secrets of what's to come there. What he sees from the industry too, which is pretty interesting, right? So Clive comes from, Nike, Adidas, and an incredible, more retail-focused background and marketing and sales and leadership there. But now stepping into this market, what does he see? What does he think is going to happen? He shares his opinions there. Also, his first 100 days, what does that look like running such a large company? And then their decisions, their strategy and how they execute as a company and why they are so detail focused. AS Color, that's this episode this week coming up next. But really quickly, we've got a couple incredible sponsors that help us put this show on every single week. Multicraft Daddy. Go to Instagram, open it up, type in multicraft_daddy, and then hit that message button. Send Dave a DM with your email address, because Dave is sending out gifts every single week, PMI tape and all other cool things that Multicraft has. Multicraft screen printing and digital supplies have been around for over 50 years, providing the industry with top brands at competitive pricing. Plus, if you mention the Printavo pod, you get an extra 10% off your first order. Thanks, Multicraft. Next up, Easy Way. If you're spending hours cleaning dirty screens, gosh, that's a thing of the past. You're welcome. Easy Way screen printing and screen cleaning chemicals have innovative formulas that are designed to work quickly and effectively, so you can spend less time cleaning and more time creating. Not only that, easyway.com has a ton of resources that you can download and be able to help you with reclaim and with screen making. So just check it out, easyway.com. They work with so many distributors, so you can pick up their chemicals and supplies. And lastly, GraphX Source. If you need a solution to help you in your art department, we were just chatting with a few shops in fabric that are growing quickly and have brought in GraphX to be able to help them with art, with production art, with mock-ups, with digitizing, vectorizing, all the good stuff, redrawing. They are really dialed in. Plus, they work really well with Printavo too, which is pretty cool. And so based on status changes, they'll hop in, attach everything they need, change the status, boom, you get a confirmation email, and you keep working. So if you want to check them out, graphxsource.com. Hit them up. Mention Printavo Pod 24. That gets you 50% off your first vector step or digitizing order to give them a try. All right, let's hop in the episode. Clive, is that a real background?
It's a real background. Yeah, it sure is.
Holy shit. If you're not listening to this episode on YouTube, do yourself a favor. Do that. It looks like a green screen, does it not?
No, it's not. No. And you would have seen this image at ISS. We had it up in our stand, but it's an image from our Auckland warehouse, our DC.
Clive, where in the world are you right now?
I'm back in New Zealand. So I've been back for my second week now. Obviously saw you guys at ISS earlier in the year, then came back to New Zealand and then went and did P&P and another trade show in Stuttgart in Germany, because we've just opened in the Netherlands. And then we did South by Southwest, and then I've been back for a week and a bit now.
The longest time he's been back home.
It's been good. But I've enjoyed being back home with the family. It's been a nice change.
Tell us about this warehouse behind you. What is this? It looks like on the one side, there's some sort of scaffolding, maybe setting it up or sorting.
Yeah, over my right shoulder is our automation. It's called the GTP, Goods to Person, and it's basically an automated packing system. So it's got 22,000 totes in there, and the product gets brought to you based on the order. And then over my left-hand side is basically stock and just making sure we got the right stock at the right time for people. And this is pretty much
automatic?
So it's all automatic, as in order comes into our e-com, comes into our warehouse management system, drops into what's called the GTP, Dematic, and then it automatically picks the product, brings it to the the person who will then check it, and then it goes through to dispatch.
Wow. Clive, how many warehouses?
You two will have to get over. You'll have to get over and come and see us.
That's already bugging on that trip, actually.
I'm going to be in Sydney, Australia in August. How far is that from New Zealand?
3 hours.
3 hours?
Yeah. 3-hour flight.
Yeah, maybe our friends at Supercolor, Mike's over there too. He's always bugging us to
you should come over. We'll look after you.
Yeah, Mike's the troublemaker though. I think I'm just kidding. So, Clive, how many warehouses are there around the world?
We got 6. So this one behind us, I'm in New Zealand. We've got one in Melbourne in Australia. Then we've got one in Carson, one on the West Coast, one on the East Coast in North Carolina, Charlotte. And then we've got Leighton Buzzard, which is Milton Keynes, just outside of London. And then we opened in Amsterdam, Netherlands in November last year. Yeah.
Pretty crazy.
And what's interesting, like why I was really keen to have this backdrop, and you might recognize it now from the image we had in our trade shows, is we're really a product and logistics business at the core of what we do. We sweat the product, want to make sure we have great product, and then we want to get it to you, our customers, as fast as we can, and in full. And that's really what we try and pride ourselves in. Those are the details that we focus on.
There is a video that Larry did, I can't remember, with John Santos, that if you really want to see this in detail, just search John Santos AS Color into YouTube, and you can see the insaneness of all of that happening, which is crazy. So do you try to replicate this into every new warehouse, or is this a special one because it's, the OG?
Yeah, it was purpose built in New Zealand when we built this warehouse. So this warehouse is, it's really fully automated. I mean, the lights in this room will go off after half an hour, so I'll need to stand up. We're trying to reduce our energy footprint. The lights go off if there's no movement in the rooms. We've got solar panels on the roof. Everything runs down through to batteries. We've got this automation over my right-hand side. So we've had this here now for a few years. We're actually just installing it into our Australian warehouse as we speak. The install started last year in about September, and we'll hope to have it fully working by the end of this year.
Wow. So, Clive, and we haven't introduced you yet, but I'll let Bruce do that in a minute. This is
way more interesting, Stephen.
This is so much cooler. Everyone's already heard your amazing accent, so they're like, "Whoa, this is a different podcast episode." And so now they'll have to listen to actually figure out who you are. But when you are building out these warehouses, is there like a third-party company that comes in and does it? Is this your engineers and your tooling? Like how much? How does that work?
So Larry, Larry, our founder, when Larry first looked to put this in, he worked with some people that are experts in this space, but he also just loves the detail of great logistics and product supply and delivery. So we've done this for 20 years. It's a big part of what our business has been built on, is being able to make sure we've got the right product and we can deliver it to you customers fast and without any errors. So this is something we've sweated for 20 plus years, and it really, I think, is a big part of what makes us unique.
Let's actually talk about that. That is probably, for AS Color, one of the biggest questions I think people have is, why not work with a distributor, right? I mean, they have access to the current customers. They're able to push stuff through their channels. They have the warehouses built out. They have the different locations. What is the thought process for AS Color wanting to double down into this arena when I'm sure it's already hard enough to build the brand, build the apparel, scale inventory and all the other supply chain craziness with that?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think at the core of it, we think we can do a better job of it. We think we can really sweat that customer relationship and have a direct relationship with the customer so we can understand what they need. And we know what problems we've got to solve. And we're talking to them directly, and we understand their business, and we feel what's going well and what's not going well. And we can be in the work with them every single day. And we also think that we can do logistics and supply very well. And we know that for printers and decorators and even music merch and artists, that getting product fast And quick turnaround with no mistakes saves you time, saves you money. So we really put effort into it. We just think we can do a better job of it. And it's really become a core competency of our business over the years. And that's why we don't use distributors. We do things different to the rest of the industry, and we really enjoy that. It's sort of something that I think it's in our Kiwi culture of making sure that we solve what's in front of us versus following what the industry has maybe done before.
That's interesting. So like when other, manufacturers and suppliers work through distributors, so shops kind of understand that those distributors sort of insulate the industry from the bigger fish. And so like those bigger companies don't really get to talk to the customers because there's a distributor in between. And so I think what I'm hearing is like, if you have a beautiful product, we want to stay as close to the customer as possible through that process. And that's like just a very different way than this industry is used to.
Exactly, Stephen. Like 100%. You said it way more elegantly than me. And I think at the end of the day, like that is what we're trying to do, is we would like to make sure that we're in the customer's business with them and we understand what makes them tick. And then as their customers ask for different things, we first to hear and we can move fast. So our business model is just really different. And, I've lived a distributor model as well in some of my prior roles. Like I lived it at Nike. I went through the whole change at Nike from working through distributors and then starting to work directly with retailers and also owning our own retail. And the last business I was CEO at, a fitness business, we used distributors all over the world. And we also had our own direct to customer operations. And the direct to customer operations just allowed us to be a lot more nimble and in I guess connected to customer needs than we were through a distributor. It's just you hear it firsthand. You just can't beat that.
Bruce, you want to introduce Clive?
Yeah. Well, I feel like I need a better backdrop now. So, I think Clive, you get the award for the best background. Maybe afterwards just take a picture so I could use it as if it's a green screen, and I'll pretend like it's real.
I would love it. I mean, you're wearing one of our heavy fadeds there, maybe, or it looks like definitely an AS color top. Bruce.
I go out and we've got a little date night later, so this is one of my going out t-shirts, and keeps me a little bit warm too. It's like a
bit
double,
heavier. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Double,
thanks for doing this call later. I appreciate you doing it later.
Yeah, true. The first email that went out to Clive, I know Clive travels, so I figured, let me just give it a shot. Hey, are you free at 10 a.m.? He's like, would love to chat, but that's like 3 a.m. the next day, my time, crazy time zone difference.
I wouldn't have been at my best, and the backdrop might not have looked like this because it would have been pretty dark.
Do you take calls in the middle of the night when you need to, because it's kind of global,
so worldwide of a company?
Yeah. When you've got a global business, you've just got to work around what customers need. So quite often you're working early in the morning or late at night. 3:30, probably not, but definitely later into the night. The last business I worked, we had offices in 9 markets around the world, so it's a little different to us. We've got half that, so it's a little bit easier to manage, which is good. It's a really nice change.
Clive is the CEO of AS Color, brought on just about a year ago, maybe a little bit more now. And incredible background, though, from, you talk about shoes and Nike and Adidas and there's some other companies at Platinum Retail Group, Nike stores. It sounds like there's like a partnership there and some other things. But, how did you get into apparel? And not only that, I'm kind of curious of the growth into leadership and pushing past. Because if you look at your resume, it's like you're getting started and director, and then the sales, and then over a long period of time running such a huge company.
Yeah, or being a part of running a big company, I think that's the thing that is unique in all the businesses or teams I've been a part of, is I just love working with people, and I love trying to create an environment where I and the teams that I work with can be at their best. And I think great work comes and high performance comes when you create an environment where people feel safe and they can push the boundaries and do some pretty exceptional things, and maybe things that they didn't think were possible because you've created the right environment for them to perform. So in all the companies I've worked at, that's been something that's got me out of bed, is working alongside great teammates and learning from others. And I've now worked in 5 industries. lived and worked in 5 different countries. And I just love getting out of my comfort zone and continuing to learn something new. And that's what it's felt like the last 12 months. So I joined AS Color just over 12 months ago now. But, my background really started coming out of university, working in retail. I used to work weekends and late nights while I was studying. It was sort of my job on the side. And I worked in a Nike store, and then I actually bought into that business, and we opened some stores together, and then we opened some streetwear stores together. And we had 9 stores around New Zealand, which, is not many, but for New Zealand, it was a good little business, and I learned a hell of a lot. And then I went overseas. My girlfriend at the time, who's now my wife, said, "Hey, I'm going to the UK. I'm sort of going with or without you." And at the time I was like, man, I've just moved from South Africa, lived in New Zealand now 10 years. I sort of feel like I've done that thing. But it was the best decision I made to get out of the retail business I was in and to move to the UK. And I got a job at Nike, living and working in London, and then also spent time with them living and working in Amsterdam in the European head office just outside of Amsterdam. And that was just a game changer in my life.
What is working at Nike like? I mean, for most people, you just see the brand. It's such a strong, powerful brand. But what is the organization like?
And going through some tough times now, like going through some really tough times right now. They've just brought in a new CEO, Elliot, and I think it's lost its way a little bit, but I back the team there that they'll bring it back and it'll come back with a vengeance. But what's working there? I mean, it's a business that taught you everything from great product, sweating product, the detail of product, storytelling around product, which is so much of what I love about what we do. Great brand marketing, building a brand, and the importance of the care and craft that goes into building a brand, and then building exceptional teams. And I think that was working with teams, as in sports teams, but also building good teams within the business. I was there almost 10 years across the UK and Europe, and then spent a lot of time in Portland and working into the global head office there. So it taught me so much. And over the time I was there, I think I had about 7 different jobs. So I did everything from retail to brand marketing to general manager roles to, country manager and area manager type roles. I ran retail across Europe. So it gave me like a really good cross section of work. And then I left Nike and we made the decision to move home. We had 2 young kids, both were born in London, and we wanted them to be closer to family. And, life's just too short. So we made the call to leave Europe and come home, and I resigned, had nothing to go to, and was clear on what I wanted in the next move, and landed at a telco, a telecommunications company in New Zealand, a digital services company called Spark. And it's probably the most commercial role I had, and also the biggest role in terms of managing a full P&L of the size that it was. And I was there for 3.5 years, and then got into a fitness role. I love fitness. I train every day. I train every morning. It just helps me be at my best. And I joined another New Zealand founded company that is actually 50 years old. We're 20 at AS Color this year, but Les Mills is 50 years old. And I worked there as a CEO for 6 years. And Les Mills is very similar to AS Color in that it was founded in New Zealand, and then we export the expertise that were created here around the world. And AS Color is very similar. And I was at Les Mills for the 6 years, and then I joined AS Color 12 months ago. So I'm still learning. I don't know the blank apparel business and industry yet, but I'm loving being a part of it.
Wow. Do you have any, Clive, if anyone's ever read the book Shoe Dog, it's the Phil Knight book. It's like it's one of my favorite books. Do you have any Phil Knight stories? Was he involved with y'all or like anything like that?
Probably the strangest Phil Knight story it was a Friday afternoon. I was in the London office, which was in Soho on Wardour Street, this little building called Film House. And it wasn't that late in the day. It was like 4:30 or something, but for some reason the office was empty. And I turned around and Phil was standing there. And, like he always wears sunglasses. So he's standing there and he's just got his sunnies on, and it's like, whoa, geez, this is kind of unexpected. And had a quick short chat to him, and he moved on. He was obviously in London and was visiting the office. Pleasant conversation, not overly much detail, and that was about it. So I met him a couple times. The second time was in a bigger group in Portland, but that was sort of the only time in a more intimate setting. But no, nothing more than that. Shoe Dog's an awesome book.
Bruce, have you read it? You gotta.
No, I haven't. Is it? What was a big takeaway from the book, or like something you remember?
I mean,
For
I
me
think
or for Steven?
What's for me? So I think you really learn Phil Knight and when he was developing the first shoe with like a waffle iron, right? And he was sampling with Japan, I think. And so samples would take 6 months. Like they would just ship a package and hope something came back. And then when he started to scale, there was like all these finance problems of like, how do you get POs in another country? And so it's like working with these banks overseas. But the through line that you see is like he obsessed with his craft the entire time, right? And so you can see parts of Nike today that were like a personality trait of Phil Knight. And then obviously like it talks through, the Jordan years and how that all happened. But just like the culture and the people and the way in which they do things, like there is a Nike way, right? And that's what built, the brand, which I think is just like so fascinating when you see those kind of founders do that. And I'm curious because it's like Nike knows their North Star for the most part, and they obsess with it. I guess what similarities or what experiences, Clive, do you draw like to AS Color from your time at Nike?
Yeah, I think there are a couple of things I'd take from it. One was like never give up, the relentlessness to chase what you think's important. I think, Bruce, like that would be one of the things I took from that book, which is you have a dream, you have an ambition, and then you do everything to bring it to light. And so from that perspective, that would probably be the number one thing. And that's probably fueled me in the whole of my life, to be honest, is that, set the bar high, dream big, and then do all you can to bring it to life. I think the other thing was the focus and obsession around product. Nike really saw a shoe or a piece of apparel as a piece of art, and the detail that went into creating the best quality product that helped athletes deliver, athletes perform, is something that's so consistent with us, I believe, at AS Color. The craft and the care that we put into our product so that it performs well for decorators, that it's beautiful to print on, is very similar and very, very consistent. And Nike in the market's not the cheapest. AS Color in the market's not the cheapest, but we really obsess the product. And then the third thing I think with Nike is just brand, the power of a brand and the power of building a brand that moves people beyond product, that makes you feel something, that tells stories, that get you out of bed, and drive you on this emotional journey. It's something I've loved, and I really learned a lot, and I'd hope we can bring to AS Color over time.
And I think, go ahead, Bruce. I was going to say, like, AS Color has developed a reputation, like a super premium brand. And when you talk about decorators, like it's elevated, it's nice to talk about, right? And when you all put out new products, we're fearless to try them out. And so Bruce just sent me a link and goes, have you seen any of the accessories that AS Color had? So I clicked on it. By the way, I wear AS Color jeans. I got them like 3 years ago. Favorite jeans. I don't think you guys are in denim jeans anymore.
Limited release.
We've actually just bought a new denim range. So,
sweet.
You'll have to try the new stuff.
I'm ready. But there were like boxer briefs, and I was like, Bruce, you gonna switch over to AS Color briefs now? Maybe.
That's all I wear. AS Color briefs. You should give them a go. And
AS Color briefs. But it's almost like that Apple effect or Nike effect, right? Like, doesn't matter what you all are going to put out. There's this reputation. There's this brand behind it. We always say at Campus Inc., like AS Color, they're the crispiest shirts. Like they're crispy when they come out of the box. They just, there's something about that. And I think that resonates. Bruce, you were going to ask a question?
Well, I think as a company grows from outside, the original founding team, we'll call it, the first maybe 5 people or so that really care so much about it. And then there's a 15, and then there's, 30 and 50 and 100 and so on. It's harder, I think, as an owner, as a CEO to, I feel like, get people to really care about the details as much as you do. And I think it almost drives me a little bit mad sometimes of like, how deep do you have to be in it to, not, to help drive that detail oriented view, but not necessarily drive yourself insane. And maybe you just pick one. You have to pick one or the other. What do you think about that from Nike and then at AS Color to doing that with the team? How do you get that? Or are you and Larry literally just like behind the designer's desk or, on the floor.
Larry is. I mean, Larry's driving product and logistics, supply chain. That's what he's focusing on. And then I'm focusing on the sales, marketing, e-com, and how we go to market. Our number one value is details matter as a company. And Nike was very much the same. The little finite details really matter. The 1%ers make all of the difference over a year. I think to answer your question, the best way to get the team to rally behind that is you've got to care for it yourself. So I'm one of those people you've just described. I'm not part of the founding team. I've only just joined a business that is 20 years old this year, and I'm only been here 1 year. So you could argue that I've got a real good job to do to give the team trust that I'm going to focus on the detail. And I've just got to be in it. So that's what I've spent my first year doing, is learning the business, working in the warehouse behind me, working in our retail stores, visiting hundreds of customers around the world, going into print shops. I don't know this industry. I didn't come from this industry, but I actually think that's a positive, and I think that's a real advantage. So I think you've got to sweat the detail yourself, and you've got to build a team that really sweats the details themselves and sees the value in it. And I think details matter in every single industry I've worked in.
This is something I struggle with, is how not to be like a helicopter CEO, that's over hovering or over micromanaging. Because there was a certain point, as our business grew from 20 to 50, 75 employees, whereas copy me on everything, I'll be involved with the customer. And then once I let go a little bit, I always had this are they going to answer the right way? Oh, did they say that right? And then I'll reinsert myself. And then I feel like I'm just micromanaging and annoying. What's that balance of loosening your grip, trusting them, letting go, but knowing that they're going to uphold, the values that the founding team or the executive team are going to be kind of flowing through the organization?
It's a hard line, and I've now been those employees that have worked for people like you. This is the third founder business that I'm working in. I've worked for 3 founders now, Larry being the third. And I think you've got to. It's on me. I see it as being on me, or it's on our team to give confidence to the founder that you sweat the detail, you sweat the small things, that you understand the business, that you take the time to learn the business. And that's on us. And then hopefully you as the founder, once you see that, you give us the space and you give us the tools to bring our expertise to the platform. I'm here for a reason. I've got experience. I believe alongside the existing team, I can do a really good job of taking us somewhere new and helping build the team to go somewhere new. But I'm not going to do it on my own. It's going to be the full team. So I think the employee's got to give you confidence that they really sweat the detail, that they know your business, that they understand your voice and how you will speak. And then you've got to give us space to be able to give it a good go and bring ourselves to work.
What about even more tactically, as specific, is there a thing that you think we could follow? For example, I look at our CEO at Printavo, James, and I notice specifically he has the numbers and things that he wants to do, and he has the levers of who he can tell that, hey, I need more of this because we need to hit this number and so on. And I think specifically he will discuss that in detail in our weekly kind of L10 essentially meeting or weekly management meeting, and then wait to see what the results were on the next time, and is a little bit less of, jump in and being I think of the bowling, alleys where the bumpers are on both sides and you're trying to hold it all the way to the end. He's waiting for it to go and then be able to get the results and sort of get people to do the things that he wants through asking really good questions. That's the specific way that I notice he does it. Is there something that maybe you do the same or anything else that you may do that people can just mimic?
Yeah, I was going to say ask powerful questions. And I think there's quite different levels of questioning. But to be a good question asker, you've got to listen and you've really got to observe. So I would say I would do exactly what that example as you've just described. I would start, though, with getting everyone on the same page, as having a clear view on what the plan is. I go into so many businesses, or I'm part of so many teams, and everyone actually doesn't know what success is. Yeah, they think they do, but if you ask them about it, everyone has a slightly different interpretation of it, and slightly different interpretations are not good because people go in different directions. So if you can line everyone up on the vision, like our mission here as a company is to create canvases for self-expression. canvases for self-expression for others. So if we're creating the best possible canvas and everyone's focused on that, and we do everything we can to do that, then, okay, I'm going to trust people to make the right decisions within that. And if I see they're going off course, I'd love to ask the right questions and help bring them back. But I've also got to be comfortable with having what I call head up and head down moments. Head up is more strategic and looking forward, looking to the future. And then head down is in the detail, executing right alongside them. And I think that's the power of a really good leader, is being able to do both well.
Wow. So, Clive, we actually reached out like a year ago and we're like, we want to get you on the podcast. And you're like, I need some time to learn. And then sure enough, like 12 months later, you emailed us back. We're like, okay, I'm ready. Talk to us about, before you came to AS Color, what you were evaluating, maybe what the first 100 days looked like. I think a lot of times, and if we could bring this back to like shop owners, they might have that first leader that they're going to bring in that they want to trust. But like, it's a scary, rocky time, and change management is super hard. Can you talk to us about what that was like for you? Maybe what happened with you and Larry? Do you have to spend a lot of time together? Yeah. How did that work?
Yeah, I mean, I'll go. It was a really big decision for Larry to be able to bring someone else to work with him, and to trust someone else to hopefully steer this business alongside him in the right direction. So, those decisions are big decisions. And Larry and I talked for a long time. I mean, we would have talked for 18 months before I joined the team. And over those 18 months, there was a lot of just like empathy building and rapport and coming together and understanding how we tick as humans. And then there was very much an element of spending time on where we would focus. I think that was the area we put the most attention into. Is Larry's going nowhere. I'd like to think he's more engaged now than ever. And we need him to be more engaged now than ever as we continue to grow and scale. And then I think I can bring a level of expertise alongside that to help the team grow and be at their best. And we just spent most of the time working on division of duties. Where would each of us focus? How do you bring as much care and attention to the craft that we do to help this business go to the next level? And how do we make sure that, 1 + 1 = 4? We get a real multiplier effect out of it. So the first 100 days for me they really started before I joined, to be frank. I wanted to understand this business and learn the industry as much as I could. I made the decision to join because I wanted to be a part of a business that I felt could continue to really scale. And I wanted to be a part of a business that was New Zealand founded and based. And then the third thing I was looking for was I wanted to be able to create and shape a culture and team. And each one of those three things I felt like I could help do and be a part of here. And then the rest of the 100 days was about learning, getting out, visiting, seeing customers, spending time in print shops, understanding the different markets. Every market is nuanced now. The core of what we do is consistent around the world, but every market is nuanced. So I've spent multiple weeks and months now in the US, the UK, Europe, Australia, and then obviously New Zealand is where we're based. And you learn so much when you're patient and you can just go and ask questions. And when you're new, you only knew once. I say to everyone, you only knew once. So make sure you ask all the right questions in that first time. So when you're new once, you can ask anything. People really don't mind. And when you can learn other people's businesses, like I've come into this is my 5th industry, as I said earlier, that I've joined. And I think I've got an idea on how you can come in, observe, be patient, ask the right questions to get some core understandings of what's happening within that industry. What shifts might you see? And then what role could our company play to continue to solve the customer's problems?
Were there hard lines that Larry set? Like, we always ask, like, are you going to go into distributors? Was Larry like, absolutely not. We are never going to distributors. So don't ask me. Or was he like open to what you thought, or were there some firm, like, these are the things I really want here that are my non-negotiables?
Oh, I think when you ask good questions, you can quickly get to the core of why we've done certain things. And, like we talked about at the start, we do things very different to the rest of the industry. So that was one of the reasons that really attracted me to AS Color. I don't think Larry ever said this is what has to be done or can't be done. You both know him. He's extremely open and very easy to have a two-way conversation, a robust conversation if needed as well. I think debate and discussion always leads to better outcomes. way better outcomes. So no, I don't think there's ever been anything that is a categorical, never ever do this, because the world changes and the industry changes. And I think as a business over 20 years, we've evolved and adapted so many times. And right now with what's happening, say in the US with tariffs, we're evolving again. So there's always a need, I think, to look to the future and decide what's next. And I really enjoyed that openness and that debate over the last 12 months, and no doubt it'll continue.
Is tariffs what keeps you up at night now?
One of the things that keeps us up. The other thing is how we create an environment for our team to continue to perform. You know, as you grow, expectation comes with growth. How do you create a team, like Stephen said, that really understands the culture and the psyche of this business? And just, you know, when you scratch below the surface, everyone feels the same thing. But yeah, tariffs is a near-term challenge for us, an opportunity we've got to get through. And again,
how so is that? Like, because this comes up in the online communities quite a bit, is, you know, tariffs, like people are like, well, aren't, you know, goods made in Honduras, or like, how, you know, I don't think people fully get, and maybe Stephen, you've seen it through Gildan's tour, but how could that potentially affect? Is it the transit of goods over? Is it because of how you ship it through different countries? What does that look like?
I think at a high level, like it would most likely be inflationary. It's going to drive prices up. In the near term, maybe longer term, you'll see some settling within the industry. But, you know, like an amount of our product that we manufacture is made in China. And therefore, if you bring those goods in and China's just had an additional 20% tariffs put on it, the cost of bringing those goods into the country is 20% more expensive. And you either do one or two things. You either work with your customer to put your prices up, you work with the supplier to get a better price, or you absorb the margin yourself. And we're looking at all three things. But it changes every week. So in terms of being able to plan and evolve for that, it's really hard, because one day it's 10%, a week later it's 20%, tomorrow maybe it's something different. The good thing is that our business is pretty diversified now, with, you know, 5 markets, 6 warehouses. We manufacture in multiple countries. We've got a really awesome relationship community with multiple manufacturers around the world that we've worked with for, you know, 14 plus years. So we can adapt, and we will adapt and evolve. But yeah, in the near term, it creates some sleepless nights, and that drive and that challenge to like, okay, how do we solve this, and how do we solve it fast?
Can you imagine? You already have so much, you know, Stephen, to like think about in your day to day, and the things inside of your team, and, you know, whatever it is. And then all of a sudden you have to worry about macroeconomic.
But that's what gets us out of bed, no? Like that's how do you steepen the learning curve? Yeah, I don't know. I love that stuff, Stephen. I mean, since you're the same.
But I think we were talking to Andy Rudman a couple of weeks ago. He said you're either a worrier or a warrior, right? And you know, it seems like you kind of have this aura about you where, like, I don't worry about too much. Like, we're going to figure it out. How do you deal with, you know, whether it's employees or other leaders that are always worrying about things? Because you have to be a fearless leader. You probably worry, I'm sure, about things. But you know, is it a mindset? Do you teach for that? Do you train for it? Like,
I've got massive self-doubt. I've carried it all my life. I've learned to deal with it better. I always sort of feel like I'm going to get caught out, or people are going to work out that I actually don't know what I'm talking about. But I believe that I will work it out. I believe that I'll find a path. I back my ability to do it. And I know that if it needs to be solved, I will solve it. So I've got a sense of belief, but I've got self-doubt. I carry it every day. But I think there's something different about having self-doubt and being a warrior or a warrior. And I think I definitely believe there's always a way through. There's never not a solution. And I think with the team, it's about instilling belief. If people believe in what you're doing, we want to create canvases for self-expression that stand the test of time. We sweat the product. We're going to do everything we can to achieve that. And then as speed bumps come along, you work it out. And yeah, it's good to have black cappers in the room, people that look at the downside, people that challenge you, people that go, hey, you're a bit of a cheerleader and that's a really terrible decision. But I think as a leader of people, as a team member on a team, I want to bring the ambition, the optimism, the what could be possible, because I believe when you aim big, you're going to get really close. And if you dream big, those dreams can come to life. And then you've got to create an environment where the team can achieve that and be at their best. And that's what I put my time and effort and energy into. And then the stuff like tariffs, it keeps the energy flowing. It keeps the juices flowing. Like it gets you up. It keeps you up. It makes you think twice. But I don't know, like you're learning and stretching. And I love those challenges.
At your guys' size, how do you get feedback? You talk about that being an important of AS Color, especially with not having distributors. That, makes it easier not having one other person in the middle. But, how does that flow back, let's say, to the product team? Are they sitting on customer service calls? Are they at trade shows? What is it?
All of the above. We're a really flat team. I mean, for example, me, I've met hundreds of customers over the last few months, hundreds of customers all around the world. And I feed that feedback back straight away. We have customer service teams in each market. As feedback comes in, if there is any product feedback, goes straight to the product team. Our sales teammates are talking straight to the product team. Larry, who does all of our purchasing and buying, he'll hear from our sales teammates every week. I mean, there's been 2 emails this morning from a couple of the sales teams direct to Larry on some product questions. So we're flat and we're hands-on, and we just shorten that feedback loop. And I think if you can shorten that feedback loop in any industry, you're going to get better outcomes, without a doubt.
Wow.
That is true. You did ask Steven, said, you talked about something with some tags or something like that before at the Long Beach, but...
Oh, tearaway tags?
Maybe that was it. I can't remember. Clive, you were just like, Steve, what do we need to do? Or what do you see in the space?
Tearaway tags. Yeah. I want to do more premium AS Color stuff, but some of our customers need tearaways.
Yeah. And by July, all of our product will have tearaways, in the US. So we listened months back now. Obviously, it takes a while for that to work through the system. I'd say majority of our product is having tearaways now coming through in key styles, but by July, it should all be flushed through and you should be able to get that product, Stephen.
That's amazing. And I remember talking to Larry about it several years ago, and he was talking about like, well, I kind of want that tag to be in there, but we're playing with the idea of, I think it was just like the basics that could have tearaways, and look how the company's evolved. I think a point you made there of, whether you're the CEO, owner, founder, it doesn't matter. Like you're always listening to your customers. And I think sometimes, owners don't want to interact with customers sometimes, or they don't care about the complaints, but what it sounds like is, like you're out there actually listening to them on behalf of your staff. Like how much time do you actually spend with end users, you yourself, as an executive, like in print shops and stuff? I thought that was really...
I would say in the last, and I don't think it'll stay this high forever, because I need to get a real good foundational knowledge. But I'd say in the last year, 60% of my time, 70% of my time has been in market with customers and the team. I'm talking to our sales team every day, someone, somewhere. We've got a sales team WhatsApp channel. We've got channels by market. And we've got all of our sales teammates from around the world coming to New Zealand at the end of next week for a sales summit. And that's where we'll help them really connect with New Zealand. Some of them have never been to New Zealand before. They haven't seen where we were founded and how the company operates here. And it's really important to then be able to take that back into the market. So to answer your question, Stephen, I'd say 70% of my time in the last year, that's probably going to end up being more around maybe 60-40. So 40% with customers and 60% on other parts. But you also want to solve the most important thing at that time. And who knows what the next 12 months will bring us and where my time will need to go, but you've got to be able to adapt.
Bruce, I give you a lot of credit because early at Printavo, Bruce would make these shop tour videos. So you'd go into, it'd be like MTV Cribs, and you'd go through all these shops, and you were doing like a lot. I don't know how many you've done, maybe 50, 40 or 50. But it was cool because like when we'd go into them, you'd be like, okay, this is how they're using Printavo. This is how they're not using Printavo. Oh, I didn't realize you guys don't use that feature. And then you guys would build for like that end user. And I think, you can never lose that. The second you lose that, you lose like faith in your customer, your customers will lose faith in you. So I think that's pretty cool. Bruce, you're going to ask something?
What was interesting though, is that there's feedback that people will verbally say, and then there's feedback that you get just from watching people use whatever product you offer them. It could be just even opening a box and handing stuff out, or how they're collecting orders, or like whatever it is. I would never have gotten that, because I was like, oh, you click on this and then you go to that and then you double click that and copy it back. Like, holy cow.
Yeah, that's a big one with our website, the way people use our website and what's important to them versus what we think is important. So in the last 12 months, we've totally rebuilt our website, from our homepage, our category page, our PDPs, all the way through to the cart and the checkout. We put features in there such as future delivery of product and dates, so that customers can see what's coming in the future, how many drops. We've made it quicker to check out, but you don't know and hear that stuff unless you go and watch and observe. So being able to see how people use our platform to get access to our product is also as important as the end product.
Tearaway tags in July. What else is new that's coming out that you can share over this year?
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. One of my observations, having been now in the industry for 12 months, call it that, I think there's a real need for innovation in the category. I guess I'd have three broader things that I think I'd go like, okay, if I could summarize what I've seen in the last 12 months, what would they be? And one would be, I think there's a real need for consolidation in the industry. I think we're seeing it, but I think some of it will be planned and some of it will be forced. So
you think there's a need? What do you mean by a need?
Well, I just think there's a lack of differentiation. I think there's a lot of people trying to do the same stuff, and you can't compete in that place. So you're either differentiating on something, and it can't just be price. So, I think there's consolidation within print shops, consolidation within suppliers, consolidation within distributors. I think we'll continue to see that. And that's not unique to our industry. Every industry I've worked at has gone through that evolution. And the second thing is, I think there's a real move to premium. I'm seeing it everywhere, not just in the blank apparel industry. Consumers are willing to pay more for quality. And I think they want it. And there's always going to be a part of the market that wants cheap and cheerful, but we don't want to be cheap and cheerful. We want to stand for quality. I've got the saying, which is, in a world where there's just so much quantity, I think quality becomes so important. And we're trying to make sure we play in that space. But to answer your question, innovation, I think, is really important in any industry. If you stop innovating, you die. I think that could be for anyone. And for us, that's about new product. That's about better yarns. That's about better fits. That's about being relevant with trends. That's about innovation with what's over my right shoulder, and our warehouses and our supply and our distribution, and how we get product to customers faster. So I think innovation is the biggest thing we as a company will continue to focus on.
And like, Clive, I know like AS Color has always been the thought leader in like premium. We're just going to be different. But now we're starting to see other, the cheap and cheerful brands starting to come out with premium products and already have strong supply chain through distributors. How do you take that as flattery? Do you take that as like, oh, that's competition that's starting to, because it's literally happening where, their reps will come to us, and Rick and Chandler, the AS Color reps, were out at our place. And then, 2 weeks later, another rep will come in and they'll actually say like, yeah, this is similar to the AS Color one. How do you think about that? Because in a world of t-shirts, there's only so many styles, cuts, colors,
Yeah, warrior mindset, I guess. If I go back to what you said earlier, it's great. I think competition is always good because it forces you to lift your game. You've got to get better. And as a company, we are focused on the details. So we're always trying to get better. To answer your question directly, I'd say we just have to keep evolving. So if they're bringing out a product that they're referring to as, this is like the AS Color Classic Tee, for example, I mean, we've been doing that for 10 years. So they're a little bit slow to the party, and we've already moved on to the next thing, like our Made product that has just launched, or a new box tee that's coming, or the canvas range. I mean, I'm wearing our new canvas chore jacket. There are so many examples where we are bringing new product to market all the time. So I'd like to think we're staying one step ahead. And there'll be moments where maybe we're not, and we need to lift our game again. But we're close to the market. So I think we see that stuff. And I think it's great for the category. I mean, we are in this industry to build the industry. A rising tide lifts all boats. that's what we're focused on. So I don't think it should be win or lose. How do you grow the category and get more people in and more end customers seeing the beauty of decorating garments and decorating a t-shirt maybe for a birthday party or for a team or for a sports club? I think that's our obligation, is to try and grow the category together.
You guys are unique also in that you have retail stores too, and it seemed to be expanding that way back when I was printing 2008-ish, 9-ish. American Apparel seemed to be like they had retail stores. They were everywhere, right? But I think what it helped was it pulled product through. So like people would ask for that, and they had a higher price expectation because they knew how much it costs at the store. How do you guys, is that how you think of it? Or like, what is the balance of the retail versus wholesale? Because you were running it before. That's its own thing.
Yeah, retail in our business is a small percentage of our business, but I think the ripple effect it can have into our entire business is huge. So we call it the shop window into the business. It's the shop window for the printers and decorators and the end consumer to actually get and feel quality product in their hands. We have 26 retail stores today. We would love arguably another 20 around the world over the next few years. We don't have any in the US yet. We're actively looking. I know when Larry talked to you last time, we were actively looking, but it comes down to finding the right site. So we have 16 in New Zealand, 15 in New Zealand, 10 in Australia, and 1 in the UK. But to answer your question, we see retail as the shop window into our business. We see them as retail showrooms. We try and put them around where we've got a high penetration of printers. So printers can send customers in and they can go and see product firsthand. They can try it on. They'll have samples of ours, but they might not have all of them in a print shop. So send them down to the A's Color store and go and try it on. And we know where we've put our retail stores, it's also helped grow our printers business and drive more people into their businesses. So we see it as a shop window. It allows us to tell a story, which is true, of retail quality product at wholesale prices. And it helps anchor the value perception around just what quality product can reach, what price point it can reach. And I think it then gives our printers the opportunity to really generate margin within that and show what they can add value to a ready premium garment and what they can be charged. So yeah, I think they're an important part of our business. It's a small percentage of our business, but the ripple effect is huge.
Wow. Okay, I want to ask you about maybe some bigger brands. Can I use brand names? I think I can. I got my first pair of Viore pants and shorts a couple of weeks ago. I spent like $250 for a pair of joggers and 2 pairs of shorts. Bruce, was like egging me on. I was like, okay, fine, we'll do it. They're super soft. I haven't taken them off. They're great. Whatever. I think their brand is fabulous in the way that they do things. Is there ever a thought for AS Color to start, whereas the Lulus and Viore started as retail brands, AS Color kind of started as a wholesale brand. Is there any thought for you all, because you're so particular about your craft and product, to actually start moving into those markets?
No, not aggressively, not beyond what I've just shared. B2B is the core of our business, but retail helps grow our B2B business and helps us go to that next level. So we've got 26 stores today. We might get up to another, say, 20, but that's going to be a tiny percentage of our total business. So we really see them as a vehicle to driving our B2B and wholesale business. We'll let people like Viore and Nalo and others sort of play into that space. I think, though, that they help grow the category. Premium blanks is exactly what you just bought. You could have most likely bought our product, which I would like to think is very similar in terms of its quality and what you would have experienced for a fraction of the price. So I think really it's like the retail component of our business is important, but the core role of that is to grow brand, to help build relationships with the end consumer, to show what you can get for quality product at a retail price, and to introduce more people to quality product. But it's ultimately going to drive people back into the rest of the business.
Interesting. It's interesting how you look at it.
Are you able to shut your brain off after 6 or 7, or no? Is it all consuming?
I struggle. I'm probably much like yourselves. You get passionate about things and you obsess to detail. And I'm definitely OCD. So I joined here 12 months ago, and I'm pretty passionate about what I've joined to try and achieve, which is to continue to grow AS Color and to help us be the global leader in premium blanks. That's what we would like to be, and I believe we can achieve it. It'll just be a matter of time and hard work and having an amazing team focused on doing the right stuff. So I work out and I train. I run every morning or train every morning because I know when I'm at my best, and there's 5 things that I need to have to be at my best. It's early in the day. I've been for a run. I'm working on something big. I'm part of an amazing team, and there's expectation and pressure for me to deliver. And if those 5 things can come together really well, then I know I can knock it out the park. If I'm feeling a little bit off my game and don't quite have the energy I have, or I'm a bit irritable and a bit grumpy, then it's most likely something in that mix is a little bit out of line. So to answer your question, I try and quieten the voice in my head through training and just being intentional with sort of habits and affirmations and trying to focus on other things.
Yeah. Clive's annoyed. He didn't get to run a marathon this morning, guys. So don't knock on his door. Love it. Thanks so much for being able to share all of this. AS Color, you guys can open up an account. You check out all their stuff. I know you guys are at all the major trade shows, right? All the impressions and.
Yeah. We've done all the impressions this year actually, and then we did.
Even in Atlantic City, that just happened.
Yeah. We were there. Yeah,
wow.
Rick and the team were there, and then I did the Textile Vision trade show in Stuttgart in end of February, beginning of March, because we just opened in the Netherlands to service EU. So Sam, who's our head of Europe, and I were basically running that show for 3 days, which was really good fun.
So Clive, I think one of the coolest things you said is I have to quiet the voice in my head. I have to train every morning. I have to have a clear conscience. That's how I'm the best version of myself. I see a lot of that in Ryan Moore from Ryan at Rock. Do you get into an ice bath every day? Are you a religious ice bather?
I like saunas. I'm not religious ice baths. If I had one at home, I think I would. I was actually spending time with Ryan. I was at Printed Threads and Made Lab 3 weeks ago. So we were talking a little bit about this. But I'm a firm believer that daily habits, daily rituals are really important to help us quieten the voice in our head, focus our attention, focus our energy, inspire people around us. You can't, Bruce, I know you surf or try and surf most days. That stuff is important to help unleash us as humans.
I love that.
Clive Ormerod. Did I say it right?
Yeah, no, that's perfectly said. Not many people get that.
I got to slow down when I.
That's brilliant.
when I do last names. CEO of AS Color. Thank you so much for being able to share so much behind the scenes of what's going on. I know Campus Ink now is excited about Tearaway in July. Everyone's got their calendars marked. We appreciate you, Print Hustlers. We appreciate you guys, as always, for joining us for another episode. We'll see you in the next one. Have a great week. Thanks so much for listening. Hopefully that was informative. Don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to like. Don't forget to hit the bell for notifications if you enjoyed this video. If you enjoy all the stuff we're putting out, it's really helpful. We love to just be able to see it. That means that we're doing a good job. To subscribe, hit the bell for notifications, and hit the like button. And I'll see you in the next episode. Bye.